I thought doing a no spend challenge for a month would require a ton of willpower and sacrifice, not to mention boredom and a whole lot of fear of missing out. It turns out I was wrong. In fact, it's been the complete opposite. I'm on day 25 of this challenge, and in today's video, I'll be debunking the 5 biggest lies and misconceptions that I believed going in, plus one identity shift that I honestly didn't see coming. And if you're new here, I'm Margaret. I am rebuilding my life from scratch as a single woman approaching her 60s. I'm learning how to live better with less, eat well, and make choices that my future self will thank me for. I couldn't think of a better way to kick off 2026 than with a no spend, low spend challenge. I've never done one before. And I knew it was going to be about more than just the money, but what I didn't expect was how much my relationship with stuff would change. It's also been a huge reality check for me, especially around some sneaky habits that I didn't even realize were operating on autopilot. Habits that have quietly cost me a ton of money, time, and energy over the years. So if you've been wondering about whether a no spend, low spend challenge is worth it, or if you just want to break the cycle of mindless consumption and find more joy in your choices, then this video is for you. So let's get into it, because I think the first one might be a little controversial. All right, misconception number 1, I'm gonna miss shopping. So here's something to consider. When shopping has become something more than just a way to acquire necessities, it's worth pausing to ask yourself what you're really trying to buy. Is it comfort? Is it status? Is it a way to pass the time? A way to keep up? A way to feel better or safer? No judgment here. I've shopped for all of those reasons myself. But here's what happens when you consciously decide not to shop unless you truly need something. You create a pattern interrupt. So when you take a moment, you might realize that what you really want is something that a shiny new object isn't going to satisfy. The key is to give yourself space to notice what's actually driving the urge, or that desire to acquire, I like to call it, and whether it's worth acting on. You get to decide. The trick is to just love your reasons. And when you do that, something surprising happens. You actually get more satisfaction from your choices either way, and buyer's remorse pretty much disappears. For me, I have come to realize that my biggest driver is fear of missing out on a good deal. I am a bargain hunter. So much of what's in my closet right now wasn't even bought because I actually loved it or even needed it. It was bought because the price was good. And honestly, I don't even wear most of what's in my closet right now. So was I really saving? Which brings me right into the next lie and misconception. So misconception number 2, impulse buys don't really matter. All right, let's address this one head on. I am over 3 weeks into this challenge, and I have spent $0 on my no spend categories so far. And food, which is a low spend category, I'm easily down 50 to 60% of what I normally spend in a month on groceries. And I haven't felt deprived at all. If anything, I'd say I'm eating just as well, maybe even better than before. The difference? Well, before I used to go shopping and let the store dictate my purchases. I might have had a loose plan or an idea and was just running in to pick up 1 or 2 things. But the moment that I would walk in, I was surrounded by options that never occurred to me and that I had no prior intention of buying. Can you relate? Suddenly things started landing in my cart because it's a good price, or I deserve this, or I deserve a treat. What the heck? And before you know it, I've spent $60 when all I went in for was milk and toothpaste, which I probably forgot to buy. So those no big deal purchases add up fast. This is where I think about the idea of tiny habits, those 1-degree shifts that don't feel dramatic in the moment, but compound over time. Those quick impulse buys quickly turn into hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a year. Money that could be going towards something more meaningful, or experiences that you will actually remember and cherish. So yes, impulse buys do matter, which leads me right into misconception number 3. Making a list will feel limiting. So let's unpack this one. That list that I've been going on about, I used to think that going into a store with a list, not only did it take more time, but it would feel restrictive and unimaginative, like I was boxing myself in or limiting my possibilities in some way. But here's what actually changed everything for me. When you write a list before you leave the house, you are actually using your prefrontal cortex, that part of your brain that's responsible for planning and long-term decision making. writing a list that's aligned with your plan is your best defense heading out the door to go shopping. Because once you're in the store, you know your brain is going to be flooded with stimulation. The lights, the music, the smells, the signs, the endless choices. That's when decision making becomes reactive instead of intentional. So the list isn't limiting you, it's actually protecting your decision-making energy. You have already decided what matters ahead of time. You're not renegotiating with yourself. And instead of feeling deprived, shopping begins to feel calmer. And here's the unexpected bonus. When you are buying less, you actually have the time and space to be more discerning. So you may not just grab the first thing that you see off the shelf. And I know this might sound like a small win, but I genuinely love those moments when I can save money and beat the grocery store at its own game. Because let's be real, stores are designed to get you to spend as much money as possible. And if you're not paying attention, you can easily miss savings or get quietly overcharged without even realizing it. So here's a quick example. I usually buy big bags of frozen berries. They're almost always a better deal than the fresh ones, especially at this time of year when fresh berries are shipped in from thousands of miles away and they don't even taste that great. So last week, I noticed that a smaller bag was on sale. So I checked the price per 100 grams on the shelf tag, and sure enough, the smaller bag was actually the better deal. So of course I bought it. And honestly, I prefer it anyway because I now don't have to worry about freezer burn if I don't get through a giant bag fast enough. Another thing to watch for that I've noticed is make sure that the item that you're buying is actually the one advertised on the promotion. I don't know if this is intentional at the store that I shop in, but I see a lot of bait and switch, especially in the meat department. So just a heads up. At the end of the day, less choice doesn't make me feel more restricted. It actually makes me feel in control and it saves me money. But don't get me wrong, eating cheaply doesn't mean compromising on health, which leads me to my next misconception. Eating healthy is expensive. So I believed this one going into this challenge and it was one of my biggest concerns. I've just always had the idea that eating well costs more. So this doesn't have to be true. First of all, imported produce, the price has gone through the roof lately where I live. And as much as I love my leafy greens, I refuse to pay $8 for a head of wilted romaine. So out of necessity to stick to my slim food budget this month, I made the shift to buying more seasonal produce that has been grown in Canada as much as possible. What this means is more root vegetables, fruit like apples, and any kind of produce that we can grow in a hothouse. So there's still plenty of choice for food that hasn't been shipped thousands of miles just to land on your plate. And I've also been leaning in on frozen vegetables too. Not only are they often more cost effective, but you know that they have been harvested at their peak and quick frozen. So it's not only the better buy, but it's often more nutritious. A lot of out of season produce is picked early, it's shipped long distances, and it sits in storage before it ever reaches the store. So by the time you get it and eat it, it can be missing in both flavor and nutritional value, which explains why so much imported produce might look good, but it actually tastes like nothing. Another thing that I noticed is eating seasonal and local simplifies your decisions. So instead of endless options, the store just naturally narrows the choices for you. And that makes meal planning a lot easier. It makes shopping faster and cooking less overwhelming. And yes, there's also the environmental piece. Shorter travel distances, less packaging. So eating seasonally didn't just save me money, it was also a way to feel more aligned with the kind of choices that I want to be making at this stage of my life. So what I gained: better nutrition, more flavor, less decision fatigue, and honestly, fewer grocery regrets. So misconception number 5, constraint means going without. So this was the biggest surprise of all. I thought that constraint would make my life feel smaller, more boring, more limited, and instead it actually did the opposite for me. It interrupted that constant cycle of consumption, always being open to suggestion for something new, tempted by the next thing that pops up on your screen, always reacting to whatever is being marketed to us in the moment. When you start to hit pause on your desire to acquire, something deeper also shifts. So by slowing down and being more intentional about what I buy, I realized that I wasn't just spending differently, I was also starting to think differently. I started moving from being an unconscious consumer, buying out of habit or emotion or convenience, to becoming more of a conscious creator of my life. Instead of asking, do I need this right now? I started asking, does this support the life that I'm trying to build? And that simple reframe changes everything, because when your spending becomes intentional, it becomes aligned with your values, your goals, and the version of yourself that you're growing into. It automatically produces a feeling of abundance, not because you suddenly have more, but because every choice feels more deliberate and more meaningful. So Constraint didn't take anything away from me. It actually gave me my agency back. And more than saving money, it has been the real win of this challenge so far. So if you've enjoyed this no spend challenge journey with me, please consider giving me a like and hit that subscribe button so you won't miss my next update. And if you missed my last video, you can watch it right here. Remember, we are not just saving money over here, we are also building a life that our future self will thank us for. So once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.